Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Dream Team Tonic podcast, episode 63. With me for the transfer special this week is Ben. Are you there, Ben?
How you doing, lads?
Oh, mate. James, are you there?
Hi, Tony. I'm here.
And as usual for the transfer special, Fergi. Great to have you along. You there, mate?
I am Tony. Thank you so much for having me on, as usual.
Not a problem. Yuki, you weren't on last week's episode as I were a little bit
pissed.
2 sheets to win. Yeah. So that was actually called episode 63, but it's been cancelled. This is the real episode 63. We don't usually pod in an international break for good reason, probably because I'm usually too pissed to do them. So yeah. So obviously this is a transfer special. We've got the new transfers coming up on Friday, heading into April. So it'll be good to know all your guys' thoughts and plans going forward. If you're after more Dream Team content this late in the season, get yourselves across to patreon.com/Dream Team Tonic and see what we have to offer. Welcome along to our newest Patreon, Tim Flanagan. Better late than never, Tim. It's good to have you involved, and we appreciate your support, mate. Hopefully you enjoy all the extra content that you're getting now. Right, Fergie, obviously last week we did go through mine, James's and Ben's teams. We'll just have a quick look at your team before we get cooking, just see where you're at before the advice starts to roll. So you're going to have a run through it, mate.
Yeah, this is my feature team, which I've tracked through this season on the podcast. It's not having the best season. I think it's around 6k at the moment. Struggled with budget a little bit. But I've got Mendy in goal, Thiago Silva and Rudiger. And I've got Cancelo and Robertson. I did take out Trent because he was just a cat. I know he's one of the best players in the game, but in this particular team, I just needed funds. I think this is the team I had Henderson in for a while. I was that desperate for cash, so I decided to try and spread the money a little bit. Then got Bernardo Silva, who's I think he's been a bit unlucky recently. He seems to thrive in the Champions League, don't he? He seems to do really well, and he should have scored a goal or two in their last match. De Bruyne and Sterling, and I brought in Kulusevski. I think I mentioned him last month, who seems to be ticking along really nicely at a really good price. So in this particular team, because my budget's not great, I've decided I'm just going to have an enabler. And he was, I think when I bought him, he was 2.3 or 2.4 million. So he's enabled me to beef up the whole team. And then Kane and Salah up front. So it's a bit of a mixed team. Was it 3 Chelsea, 2 Liverpool, 2 Spurs, and 4 Man City? I kind of like to have a bit of a mixture in my team rather than blocks, because obviously blocks can go either kind of one way or the other. There's no in between, is there? But because of that, it's treading water a little bit. So I'm trying to be patient with it. But this could be the month now, maybe, where I decide to maybe just kind of go one way or the other. And with Man City having so many matches, and they after last year when they obviously helped me massively in winning it, I'm tempted to maybe just go that way. But it's really tough to take out players like Robertson and Kane or whoever else, because they're just going to punish you. So that's my kind of state of play. My best team overall is roughly 300th, which is doing okay. Still got 3 transfers left in that one, actually, or 2, sorry. So that one's going okay. That one's pretty heavy on Man City already. And so, yeah, that's my state of play. Not going to win it again this year, but excited for the run-in. There's lots of fixtures in April, masses of fixtures in April. I think it could be a really big swinging month. And we've got decisions to make, all of us, haven't we, about whether to hold our nerve or go all in, and it could affect the whole season. So I'm sure we'll chat a bit about that in a bit, won't we?
Yeah, it could be a good differential city. Let's say a lot of teams heavy on Liverpool, aren't they?
They are. Yeah, I looked at the top 100 earlier, just as and I wouldn't say it was. Well, I was a bit surprised to see, a massive lack of block City and Chelsea as well. It seemed to be all Liverpool, wasn't it? So
yeah.
Yeah, I think Liverpool have been a bit fortunate to keep as many clean sheets as they had, as I say, due to Alisson's saves. He just makes one save every game, doesn't he? Where he just keeps the clean sheet.
Yeah.
But well done to everyone who jumped on them early. They've been absolutely incredible, haven't they? Four of the 4 Liverpool defenders are in the top 6 overall defenders points scoring in the game, so they've been absolutely flying.
Yeah. Just got to hope it turns. So people could start to make some ground on them blocks, but we'll see. Right. Straight into the listener questions, and we've got plenty, as we always do on the transfer special. So first up, David87. There's his team, 0.1 million in the bank, 1 transfer remaining. If we assume Trent will be fine after the international break, what would you be doing with the final transfer? Cheers, lads. His team is, I'll just run through for people listening on Spotify or on the Hub. Mendy, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Cancelo, Robertson, Rudiger, Mahrez, Mount, De Bruyne, Mane, Salah and Kane. Ben, first up, mate.
Yeah, great team, and obviously with 0.1 in the bank, it's very tricky to see what you can do. The obvious one, obviously, is Kane. He's only got 5 confirmed games at the moment to this month until the next transfers. But it's Kane, and Kane's on form at the minute. So I don't know. I won't take him. And then you got Mane in there. Mane's not been pulling up any trees lately. Yeah, so you could go to Havertz from Mane maybe. Or even, I like the look of Maddison for this month. I just think he's going to be nailed in that team. He's got starman potential. He's got 7 star mans this year, 7 assists, 13 goals. And he's on free kicks. You seen him the other week, he just pulled one out, got one in the top corner. The other week he scored a free kick against Randers.
The only thing, though, about the Leicester players, it's annoyed me a little bit because tipped them over the last few months, so when they got the fixtures. But that Conference League is not getting the ratings or anything on there.
Yeah, that's a good point. If you don't score, basically, annoying. You don't get the rating.
Yeah, you're getting nothing.
Yeah.
It's really frustrating that, unless you do assist or score, there's nothing for you there, is there?
Yeah.
Even if you have a great game.
He's on the same amount of points as Sterling, and he's got more points than Foden as well. So, and obviously, I think Mount's on the same points as. I think he's on the same points. I've got it here. He's 6 points behind Mount. So Maddison's getting the game time. You know what I mean? But yeah, there's like you could bring Jota in for extra game, and then you have a triple Liverpool front for Kane. But do you really want to, take Kane out? It's a tricky one.
All these teams, City, Chelsea, and Liverpool, assuming they progress in the Champions League, which Chelsea, is probably close. I think City, Liverpool are probably fine to go through, but they will all play every 3 or 4 days, not far after the end of the season now. So I think, it's balancing that.
Yeah,
you say Maddison, or whoever we're talking about. There's only a handful of players who I think will play every single game. There'll be a lot of players who will play once, 1 in 2, and it's identifying those players, isn't it? Like, Kane is going to play every 90 minutes every game for Spurs. Can you be sure that if you swap him for a City mid, or as you say, like Havertz or Mane, that they're actually going to play, any more than 120 minutes? And would you rather have Kane over 90 or Havertz over 120? I think it's quite close, isn't it? It's tough. Yeah. It's tough. That's a tough one there.
I think he's got the potential on a kid, right? When he plays, especially with the fixtures they've got.
The fixtures are decent,
Villa, Brighton, Brentford, Leicester, and then is that Arsenal game? Have they not got the potential of six fixtures?
Yeah.
So they do get that 6th one thrown in. which is looking likely, I think. I mean, it makes it such a tough decision because we talk about 10 games for City, Liverpool, Chelsea. That's on the basis of them qualifying. Obviously, Liverpool got a nice draw against Benfica, but City, Atletico, pretty fancy City there. Chelsea, Real Madrid could be a bit of a banana skin for them.
Yeah.
I mean, Kane in 6 games at 90 minutes versus, I don't know, like you say, a Foden or a Mahrez or a Sterling.
I think even if that fixture drops in April, it would be to the back end of the month, and looking maybe a bit earlier, it would be like a 6 for 3, I suppose, is probably the way I would look at it, rather than looking at the whole month, because you can always bring Kane back as well, right? So
Right, true.
if the fixtures are confirmed, you can bring him back, but immediately over the first 3 weeks of the month, it's a 6 for 3. But like you say, there's probably only maybe like, if Trent is fit, maybe Robertson, Van Dijk, Rudiger, De Bruyne. There's only a maybe Laporte. There's only a handful of players who are going to play every one of those 6. The rest is a bit of a lottery, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really tough one. I never sit here on this podcast and say take Harry Kane out.
I know.
I can't do it because he's got the capability of scoring 4 goals in a game. He's that good, and he's hitting form as well. He's playing really well. He is playing really well. Kulusevski has been a great addition to that Spurs side. I just think, I don't know what to do with that. I mean, I'm keeping thinking. What do you reckon, James?
What on Kane or the team?
The team?
Well, it's a tricky one. Isn't it? There's no major weak links in that side. I do think Mane's output will drop now. You'll note that whilst Firmino and Jota were out of the side through injury, they were playing Mane as a number 9, so his output went up. I suspect he'll revert back to what he was doing before, unless, I suppose, you could argue having Luis Diaz waiting on the bench to come on might spur him on, but I suspect his output will drop. So when I've written down Havertz here as a potential switch from Mane to Havertz. He could even do Mane to Diaz, but I don't think I would probably do that one. He has enough money to do Mount to Sterling if he feels that that Man City have got are potentially better than Chelsea this month, but it's a close call, to be honest. I think, David, you need to look at it and see which way you want to go, and make a choice as to how you're going to play the month of April. If you think City are going to have a better month than Chelsea, perhaps you do the Mount to Sterling move. It's a close call. I mean, a tricky one. And anyone else got any thoughts on that?
You could just burn it.
I agree. It smacks as one of those, it smacks as one of those moves that if you take out Kane, it's almost, if Kane does go and bang a couple of goals in, it's one of those, like, I play the game sometimes quite emotionally and how I feel if something happened. And if I take a player out and then they bang, well, I know I take them out ahead of a good fixture. That hurts more than not putting someone in, for me personally. And when I'm completely and utterly on the fence like this, I tend to leave it run out because it's 50-50 and then bank the, I know in a specific instance, he's not banking a transfer, he's burning it. But I don't think there's enough really to make a change there. I'd be tempted to burn, as much as I hate to say it. Or make some kind of, if there's, if you've got like a cheap player who you want to bring in, who you've got your eye on, you could make that move, like sideways move, just to release funds to give you more money to go ahead into April with. But I'd be careful. because it hurts.
Definitely. Right. And after that little palaver, sorry for any language you might have heard. Paulie has been on. Who are the best 11 players, money no object, for April and the remainder of the season? James, fire us 11 players, mate.
Best 11 for the. I don't know. It's all good. It's going to sound all very template, I think, if I'm honest. But I've got Alisson in goal. I've got Trent, Cancelo, Robbo, and James at the back. In midfield, I've got Mahrez, KDB, Sterling, and up front, I've gone for Salah, Jota, and Kane, which is slightly controversial given the Spurs' lack of fixtures. But like we said earlier in the pod, he is on fire at the moment. And I don't think there's a huge amount of potential options up front, to be honest. But I'm sure some of the other lads might have some different teams.
Fergie?
Yeah, I think the only thing I would add is I would probably go for 4 City midfielders, I think, to kind of overcome that rotation, because City score a lot of goals. All the Liverpool forwards apart from Diaz are all classed as forwards, whereas all the playing City forwards apart from like Jesus are classed as midfielders. So I think I would probably go for a 4 midfield block of City mids, and then go potentially at just Salah and another up front. Could be one of Havertz, could be Mane, could be Kane. But I think that's the only real change I would do. I think it works well because you're guaranteed not guaranteed points or goals every game, but you're guaranteed starts every game. I think the only banana skin we've got this month is obviously Man City play Liverpool twice, don't they? You would, it's really tough to predict clean sheets in those one, but I think these two teams will always score goals. So by maximising the attackers from those teams, I think that's the way to go.
Yeah. Ben?
Yeah, I've got Van Dijk instead of Robbo in my back line. And in midfield, I've got Mahrez, Kevin De Bruyne. And I'm banging the drum for Maddison. 4th highest scoring midfielder in the game as well. I just think he's going to get a lot of game time over these fixtures coming up. He's very dangerous, and the star man loves him in this game. So I just have a feeling he's going to play a lot of football. And up front, Salah, Jota, and then I've got Kane / Havertz, but I probably say Kane still because of the he's still got good fixtures, so I can see him scoring in every week. So if he gets 8 points a week, you'd be happy with that, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
If you could add those, as I say, along with maybe De Bruyne, Sterling, Mahrez, and Foden, there's a lot of goals in there this month, I think.
Yeah.
You've got all the best attackers from, from all the best teams. You could even do, well, depending on how you feel about it, but because I think Chelsea, City, and Liverpool this month have all got some quite tough fixtures as well as really good ones. So you could even do like a 3-4-3. If you think there's going to be more goals and clean sheets, maybe, but it's so tough. It's because the template is so, there's a pool of 16 players really, and it's any one of those 16. It's so hard to make ground, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm staying loyal to the Chelsea train here. I think what you say about Liverpool and City playing each other twice, that could play to the advantage of people with the Chelsea players.
Yeah.
Obviously, depending on how them games go, they could be 4-4. There could be plenty of scorers there, or they could be the other way around and go 0-0, 0-0, and feed the blocks. But I think for me, Mendy, Rudiger, James, Trent, Cancelo, and then I went with 3 City midfielders. I didn't quite go the 4, but I like the idea. because I threw Mount in there as well. KDB, Ford, and Mahrez with Mount. And then I did the exact same up top. Salah, and I had Havertz/Kane, depending on if you're brave enough. Havertz is a decent punter. I can see him getting plenty of points, but can you take Kane out of your team? Or do you drop, say, a Cancelo out or a Trent out and go with Havertz and Kane? That's always an option. But yeah, money no object. There's your teams.
It's just a shame that Chelsea, City, and Liverpool have got all the fixture volume as well as the best players, because it's very difficult to look outside them. You're forcing yourself to look outside, aren't you? Rather than because even Leicester have got PSV, is it?
Yeah,
I think that's a tough tie for them, isn't it? It's they could definitely have had an easier game, an easier tie, couldn't they? I think.
Yeah.
Next one, point and poker. If Haaland goes to City, do you think this will help or hinder Phil Foden's progression? Question. James, what do you reckon, mate?
Well, I think they could link up well. I think Haaland will get goals at City if he goes there, and I think Foden has an eye for an assist. So I think that could be quite a nice partnership potentially. Of course, Foden's got a lot of players that can play in his position, so perhaps someone else will link up better than he will. But surely he's going to get more and more games, you would think. The older he gets, the more experienced he gets. I think it could be a good thing rather than a detriment to him. I think they probably could do with a focal point to the attack at City.
Do you think, though, that they're becoming a bit stacked on that left-hand side? Do you think like maybe a Sterling's got to move on or something like that? Or maybe Bernardo Silva? Do you think they're going to trim a little bit if they do get Haaland?
Maybe. I wouldn't see Bernardo Silva going after the form that he's been in this year, and Pep seems to love him, doesn't he? I wouldn't. There's been rumours about Sterling going, there was, and now you hear rumours about him signing a new contract.
Yeah.
So who knows? He likes to stack up with plenty of decent players, doesn't he? It gives him the opportunity to rotate and go for strong in 4 separate competitions every year.
Loves a bit of rotation, does Pep, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Can he keep them all happy, though?
Oh, that's true.
What do you reckon, Fergie?
I think he keeps them happy if they win, if they win the league and win the Champions League. There's no argument, is there? I think the issue they've had so far, the Champions League has eluded them, haven't they? I still can't forgive him for dropping Rodri from the final last year and playing Gundogan in there for the first time that season. I mean, flipping it. Talk about overplaying it and trying to be a bit too clever. But in terms of Haaland on Foden, I think it'll only help him, right? They'll just rework a formation. They'll build the team around Haaland scoring lots of goals, and that will only help Foden. Foden's not a he's not a number 9, is he? He's a kind of he's a playmaker. He can play on the left. So if anything, I think it'll help him, and City will just be just unstoppable if they can stop these odd, silly defensive mistakes they play. But yeah, if you want to just playing with world class players will only make you a better player, won't it? They'll just suit the formation for him.
Yeah, Ben.
Yeah, totally agree. More quality players, the better. The Haaland Globetrotters will be, won't there?
Yeah, like that. Very good.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it'd be good for Foden. He gets rotated anyway at the moment, so I don't think it'll make any difference. He's been playing quite a lot lately, though, Foden.
Yeah, he has, yeah.
But yeah, I think it'll be good.
Yeah, very good player, Haaland. They've done well, City, haven't they, without a number 9 this season. He obviously missing out on Kane in transfer window earlier in the year, but it's not held them back really. But just shows what they might have done if Kane was in their side, or if they got Haaland this year. It's scary, really. Right, Connor, Connor's been on. How do we tackle these Liverpool blocks? Is it a case of can't beat them, join them? What do you reckon, Fergie?
I think it's a case of where you are in your leagues and stuff. In terms of things like overall rank. I'm assuming most listening are targeting mini leagues.
Yeah.
And if you're in front, or if you're right up there and just want to maintain for a while, I think I'd join him. And I don't mean go for a full block, but potentially get a couple and maybe go for a semi block or something along those lines. But if you're chasing, if you're 50 points behind or 100 points behind where you want to be, I think you probably have to look elsewhere, to be honest, because I think that there is enough in Chelsea and Man City to actually match them. You need a bit of luck, right? You need Liverpool to concede in a few games, and you need City and Chelsea to keep clean sheets in a few games. But this is where we are at the stage of the season. There's not long left now, is there? And I think it depends where you are. Would be my answer. Is how I would do it. I think just for example, in my team that's going well, I think I've got one or two in, so I'll just leave that one because I'm quite happy with that one, just plodding along, and I'll look for other opportunities to make a difference. Whereas my feature team in this, which is not doing very well, I might go for a City and Chelsea defense, for example. I think that's how I'll play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I don't think you have to join them unless you're defending a mini league or something.
Yeah.
But I think Connor's going for rank, so I'll be looking at Chelsea or Man City defenders. I went on the ffstuff.co.uk website and I looked at the top 1K ownership for defenders, and Chelsea have got 67.5% owned in the top 1K. So, if you have two Chelsea defenders, that's better than anyone. The average is one, and Man City, surprisingly, is 123.5%. So that's nearly two defenders. Well, I suppose two defenders will still be better than that.
Yeah.
And Liverpool was 255.3%. So you need three defenders
to make any ground whatsoever.
Yeah, to make any ground. So yeah, but I definitely think you could probably sit on City and Chelsea to try and gain some ground.
Yeah. Yeah, James.
Well, I've been pondering this very question myself over the international break. I looked at some of the moves that I'd made over the last month, and I was taking out Rudiger. I was bringing in Rudiger for Robertson. And making moves like that, and it started off quite well, but it was a disaster really because Robbo went through the roof and has done amazingly in the last month or so. So you can say you won't gain any ground, but you can lose ground.
That's a good point.
And I'm still in the top 50, but I made some. I sort of went on the Chelsea train to try and gain rank, but it didn't work in my favour because yes, Liverpool's highly owned, but if you don't have them, it has the opposite effect. So it's not quite black and white.
It's what we need to do is you put your Chelsea and City defenders in, and then you cheer on every team that faces Liverpool, and just hope that this run of it's not just good fortune because Liverpool are a very good side, and obviously they've got very talented players, but there's been a lot of cases where you think, how the fuck has that not gone in? How are you just watching it thinking, Jesus Christ? Well,
I would say in Liverpool's defence that, no pun intended, that sometimes it looks like they're being more battered than they are because they play such a high line, but they're very, very good at playing that high line. So the linesmen have been instructed not to lift their flags. So it looks like we're being overrun. And then it turns out it was offside. But when you're watching the game, it can feel like, oh my God, they've got in again. Until you sort of almost train yourself to say, well, no, the linesmen have been told to keep their flags down, and it's probably offside, and it is in a lot of cases. But yeah, there has been a few situations where we've been a tad fortunate, I guess.
Yeah, it just seems that Liverpool have seemed to get away with them, and Chelsea and City have maybe succumbed to that little bit of fortune. But I've got exactly what Fergie said. Are you winning your mini leagues? If so, stay with Liverpool or go with Liverpool and defend. And if you need to catch up, City and Chelsea, they're there. Like Ben's just ran through the estimated ownership of the defence. It's there to be had. If City or Chelsea go on a decent little run of 3 or 4 clean sheets through his first part of April, there could be some big ground to make up there, especially if Liverpool concede a few.
I think as well, the next question I think which is coming up is a really good kind of intro into this point as well. But all the games for the first week or two are very much of a muchness in terms of there's no real standout ones. So you can probably get away with just leaving it for a week or two, getting a lot more information. There could be a massive injury, right? Who knows with Trent, right? So with Trent, we assume he's going to be back soon, but we haven't heard he is definitely. He could be out for another week or two, for example. And Reece James, we don't know with Reece James. What if, I don't know, Alisson injures himself, or someone gets a Champions League ban? Like, transfers in hand over short-term points is massive, and especially when you're making sideways moves, as James just alluded to, kind of Robertson to Rudiger made a lot of sense, but Robertson had a lot of good games, and he kept on scoring points. Whereas that transfer in hand now, regardless of whether Rudiger outscored him in points, that transfer in hand will probably be a lot more valuable than any points that Rudiger would have got over Robertson regardless. So I've just probably ruined the next question, but
let's jump into it. Andy Barnett. I'm thinking, regardless who we have in our teams, as long as they are fit, we shouldn't touch our transfers for the next 2 game weeks. Even if our players are on the bench, then we have a clear view of how many games teams will have left and know when rescheduled fixtures should land. We'll also know who's in or out of Europe. We have 10 transfers left for the season, and these will be vital. Do you guys agree? If not, what do you think would be the best strategy with our remaining transfer budget? Yeah, obviously some good points there, Fergie, because a lot can happen, especially early in this month. There's nothing really that jumps out at you where we want to attack somewhere, unless obviously you're having to make up quite a bit of ground and you're having to jump and go a little bit left field and go to the City and Chelsea sooner than what you might want to if you're moving away from Liverpool.
But if you're moving away from Liverpool are home to Watford, away to Benfica.
Yeah.
They're 2 spanking fixtures. You're just doing it for doing its sake,
Yeah.
So we talked about earlier, maybe taking out, I can't remember the exact one, maybe Mane for Havertz. You're taking Mane out ahead of Watford and Benfica. I just leave it. Like, it's all such a toss up in this first week. City have got Burnley and Atletico. Chelsea have got Brentford and Real Madrid. It's so even. To me, it's not worth making a transfer until you see a real opportunity. It's worth saving them back. There's still, what is there? After this week now, there's still 1, 2, 3, like 7 weeks left. There will be opportunities to get big advantage over your rivals still, I think, moving forward.
It's very much where you're at. I mean,
yeah, it is.
Everyone's in such different situations in a mini league.
Yeah.
Say you could be 100 points behind, you could be 80 points behind. You're feeling desperate. You need to, and someone sat there top with a Liverpool block, and you've got a Liverpool block. What do you do? Because he's not going to change. Because as we advise, you sat there on top, you just defend and you keep that Liverpool block because that's a sensible thing to do. So do you throw caution to the wind and make these transfers that, like you say, they are nothing transfers, they're sideways moves, but sometimes if you're not trying to hold your rank or you're not playing it, you're just trying to attack a mini league. I think sometimes you're going to just go a little bit gung ho. But again, that can hurt heavily, as James has had doing the Robbo to Rudiger. It can hurt. Like you say, you can lose rank rather than gain. It's just whether you're willing to accept that is on the table.
I think if you're chasing, you've got, if you're 150 points behind, I would say to go for it. I wouldn't take out Liverpool players actively yet. I'd leave them a week or two, but I wouldn't be bringing them in if I was chasing. I'd just go somewhere else.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't be taking out Robinson and Van Dijk, right? Because obviously that would be suicide.
Yeah.
But
maybe dropping a midfielder out, maybe putting, I don't know, an extra City defender in, or an extra Chelsea defender to make a little bit of a mini block alongside maybe a Trent and a Rob or a Trent and an Alisson.
Yeah. And then if Liverpool, just for example, I don't expect them to, but they do have Benfica, Man City, and all four of those games actually will have a big outcome on Liverpool's season, right? So it's Champions League, Premier League, and FA Cup.
Yeah, massive.
As Andy says, after that we'll have a very, very clear picture of what the rest of the season looks like. Whether the Premier League will go to the wire, whether Liverpool are going to the semi-finals of Champions, whether Liverpool are going to be playing an FA Cup final. I think all these are big things. And if they don't, and you've moved Liverpool in, and they get knocked out of 2 out of the 3, for example, you're then screwed because at some point you have to take them all out again, aren't you?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, definitely. Risky. What do you reckon, James?
Well, it's worth noting that this month, I think someone mentioned it's a long month. It is a very long month with
it is.
5 weekends before you get the final set of transfers in May. So I think it's perfect. I think Andy's strategy is perfectly valid. Especially if you're relatively happy with your team. I think that's a totally valid approach when you consider. You'll get more information and the length of the month. Yeah, I think it's a good one. Yeah, nice suggestion, Andy. Yeah.
Yeah, Ben.
Yeah, I think you covered it all. I think Andy's points is a brilliant point. If you've got a good team, you don't need to move anybody out. Just sit and see who goes through in the cups.
Yeah.
And then you can pivot.
Yeah, my note here was no injuries, ? Leave is a long month ahead. That's all I'd wrote down.
Some teams could have up to 10 games. That's massive, isn't it? That's huge.
Huge. Everything could change by then.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, nice one for that, Andy. DT Patrick. I'm on a limited budget and itching to bring in a Liverpool defender. Is there any potential explosive enablers from midfielder up front you could recommend? So he's obviously looking for an enabler to probably bring in Trent, Robbo, or VVD. James?
Tricky one, that. There is a bit, obviously, we've mentioned earlier, there's a bit of a template form now. I think in midfield, someone like Diaz could really kick on. I mean, he started well, but he's got the potential to explode, I think. And up front, Havertz is playing well. He's also, he's the main number 9 at Chelsea, it would seem now. So that's the 2 I had written down.
Yeah, Fergie.
Yeah, I had those 2. Madison was 4.2. I know he's probably going to be Ben's. Sorry for stealing your thunder there, Ben. Ziyech is 4.4, but and like I say, for an absolute enabler, Kulusevski, he hasn't got as many fixtures, but he's likely to start most of them. He's incredibly cheap. Man United have quite a decent month fixture-wise, actually. I think they got Leicester and Norwich in the next 3 games. I think Sancho is still quite cheap maybe. I probably wouldn't be looking outside of those. Maybe Arsenal with Saka, maybe Martinelli at front if you're absolutely desperate for funds. I think he's still like mega cheap, isn't he? But
2.1 million now.
yeah, it's just so hard to look outside of those top three, 3 or 4 teams just because of pure fixture volume. You know they're gonna just score so many points, and as I say, he's kind of forcing it otherwise, isn't it?
No love for West Ham tonight at all. They've got extra fixtures this month. Any thoughts, boys, on West Ham players?
Won't be bringing Antonio in, that's for sure.
No,
He ruined my season.
Well,
He did.
yeah.
Him and Lukaku on that FA Cup weekend ruined my bloody season.
Yeah.
I suppose Bowen could be back soon. I don't know. I haven't heard an injury update, but I guess that with West Ham's extra fixtures, then if Bowen was back, he could be an option, couldn't he?
He could.
Yep.
25% chance of returning on the 2nd.
Right.
But
He'll be back this month, though, I imagine.
yeah. I'm personally not looking at West Ham because they've got 10 games left in the season, the Premier League season, no rearranged games to go. And then they've got the European games as well. So 12 guaranteed games. But who'd you pick? There's so many options that are not like explosive, really, are they? They're all rotating at the minute.
Yeah.
Even like Yarmolenko was coming off the bench scoring the other week, and he still didn't get a start at the weekend.
Yeah.
I was surprised he didn't get a start.
You'd be better off just going putting Bernardo Silva in.
Yeah. Well, he's 3.7 million, isn't he? So great pick. You've pretty much covered all the ones on my list. Only ones that I've stuck down there just as a point as Jorginho's 3.1 million. With these important games coming up, I can see him starting, and he's on penalties. And Chelsea seem to get a lot of penalties.
They do.
And then he's got the star man potential as well.
Yeah, I like
And Tillemans is 2.9 million. I wouldn't be buying him myself, but he's on penalties at the moment while Vardy's injured. And he's got the star man potential as well. But like you say, there's better options. So yeah.
Yeah. I have Martinelli down at 2.1 million, 6 games, possibly 7.
Yeah.
And if one of the bigger sides do get knocked out of Europe, it does bring their games around. It's more or less to where they're at. Diaz obviously at 3.1, and Kulusevski, who's had a smashing start at Spurs, but again he's not got the fixture count, which probably goes off. Grealish is only at 3.9 million. I mean, he's been getting a bit of game time, hasn't he?
Not bad. Yeah.
He's worth a nod, but I think I've had him in maybe a couple of my teams this year, and I seem to have got him at the wrong time each time. So he's not somebody I'd probably want to go near. But I mean, Havertz at 4.1 million. I think it's still a bit of a differential there, and he's got the fixture count. He seems to have the nailed on position at the minute. Could score a hatful. Right, can I sneak another one in too, Patrick? 63 points ahead of his rival. We've only got 4 players the same. Only 10 transfers remaining in the game. Is it now the time to bring in a couple of blockers? James?
It's possible. Well, no, I don't. If that's your main focus, and I believe he's got one main rival. I don't think there's. I would look at their team, and I think I've said this before. Is there somebody in that team you really fear? And if he's if you think he's a good player, and every time he plays you think, oh God, I hope he doesn't score, then I would have no objections to you bringing that player or him and another as a blocker. I think that could be a smart move. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I totally agree with you. I've got down here exactly the same thing. Block the ones that worry you.
Yeah.
But yeah, try and keep your transfers, obviously, because 10 transfers are precious now at the end of the season. Yeah, but if there's one player in there that you're really worried about, block him. But try and keep him and see what he does.
Yeah.
Monitor his team. If he,
That's very important, that there. It's
yeah,
exactly what I was going to touch on is that probably go back to what we were discussing about spunking transfers earlier, is that depending on his position behind you, he might be one that's going to go gung-ho. And
yeah,
these players that you might try and block, he might be getting rid of to go differential because he might just go for it
yeah,
early on in this month. So just hold back just for the first few weeks. That's probably the most sensible thing to do in your position. And then, obviously, with you, once you know where we're at after the Champions League games and the cup game, then look at blocking because he'll have made his transfers by then, I guess, if he's chasing.
yeah.
If you, Fergie, if you were chasing, so you sat second in the mini league now, like you say, you're 80 points behind. Are you making some early ones?
I think it depends on my team. If I've got anyone obvious to kind of move out, I may do. But if I'm sat on a pretty decent team, I think I'd probably wait. It's cat and mouse, isn't it? And that's the beauty of FF stuff, is you can see how many transfers they've used.
Yeah.
So I think I would, to kind of answer his question. If you haven't got De Bruyne, for example, I would get De Bruyne because he's going to probably start 7 or 8 out of the 10 games.
Yeah.
If you haven't got Trent and he's fit, if you haven't got all the real obvious ones, I'd get them regardless because you're going to want them because they're the best players anyway. But it's cat and mouse. You're in front. You've got the advantage. Let him make mistakes. Let him show his hand first, and then you can just, as I say, he'll probably end up doing something like taking out, I don't know, Sterling for someone, and then Sterling will score a couple of goals, and he'll panic and do another move, and in the meantime, you're just sat there with all your transfers in hand. If you've got a good team and you're happy, just leave it, and just who blinks first, cat and mouse, and just have the bigger balls at the end of it. Sit tight.
Sit on those big balls, Patrick.
Quite a good segue into the next team name, Tony.
It is Gaz's right arm with ball bag 7. He's got one transfer left. He's thinking of tinkering back to City, Liverpool 10 and plus Kane mid-April for the rest of the season. Your thoughts? Welcome. Ball bag 7. His team is Alisson, Trent, Robbo, Cancelo, Rudiger, De Bruyne, Mahrez, Mount, Salah, Kane, and Havertz. Nice. What do you reckon, James?
Well, it's another one of these teams that's well set up. No obvious holes in there. I mean, like I was sort of saying earlier, if you think Liverpool are going to have a better month than Chelsea, you could use that last transfer to do Rudiger to Matip. If you think the City mids are going to do better than Chelsea, then you could switch Mount out. But again, these are sideways moves. It's difficult to say how April's going to pan out. I think you could either burn it, like we said, advised earlier, with one of the other teams, or you can go right. I'm going to go in on Liverpool or City and move Rudiger or Mount for somebody. But it's a good team. No,
there's a good
obvious
side.
flaws.
There's a good side. Fergie?
Yeah, probably either burn or the only two, I say weak links in there, but the two I would even consider getting rid of, which I probably wouldn't, are probably Mount and Kane. But then Mount has 2 fixtures, Kane has Newcastle. Leave it. I'd personally leave it for a week or two. Maybe do Kane to, well, you can afford anyone there, can't you? You can afford any mid. You can go Foden, you can go Sterling, you can go Mane, you can go, you could go, like, an example is you could go to Diaz just an example, to free up a lot of funds. You could use your transfer for that. So you go into the next month with 11 players who play twice every game week, plus or have 4 million in the bank. You could do that, but I'd probably burn if that was my team. I think if you're in a good position, if you're chasing, I would probably, if you're chasing, take out Kane and do that move personally, just to try and maximise your gains.
Yeah. Ben?
Yeah, agree with Fergie.
Yeah, 100%.
If it's such a good team, like, you could burn it, but if you're top of your group, top of your league. But yeah, Kane, you can gain the 6-3 over Kane with somebody else. So from City, Chelsea, Liverpool, even
get a few mil in the bank as well, right? Which is nicer flexibility. It means you can you can upgrade someone. I don't know, Rudiger to Reece James or something, really easily, or something along those lines later on.
Yeah,
definitely.
Well covered, chaps. Good team, that, mate.
It is excellent
team. Right, we've got 3 questions here, and they're pretty much the same. We've got Matt Woolley, who is actually still sat in number one. Number one currently.
Is he going to take your crown, Fergie?
It looks like.
He's having a great season. Keep it up, Matt. His question is, should we hold Kane, given Liverpool and City have 6 games over his 3 in the next 3 weeks, as obviously has been touched on. Daniel Moody's also been on Twitter with Manchester City, Liverpool, Chelsea and Leicester might play 10 games in April. Spurs are currently due to play 5. To Kane or not to Kane? That is the question. And Kaiser Soze, Leal has been on. I'm taking Kane out. He's decided. Rank the best Kane alternatives. Assume everyone already has Salah, Jota, Mane, Havertz, KDB, Sterling, Mahrez and Foden. Or would you rather keep Kane over any of those 7? So it's very much what we're doing with Harry Kane. It's probably going to be, it seems like, going to be the biggest decision, especially early April. And it could break a few sides because, as we know, he's got the massive potential. There'll be a lot of people that go with fixture volume, as we love to play fixture volume. It's best route to points. But when it's Harry Kane, that might be the one that's going out. Against Newcastle, it's a massive decision. Massive. We'll go to you first, James.
Well, I've been playing around with some stats for this one. I was thinking, well, how can we sort of try and model, if you like? And when I say model, it's a very loosely termed model. So you see some of these guys on Twitter that are clearly proper full-on statisticians and have been working on models for years. But I just thought, if we looked at the points per game that Harry Kane gets, which is he's averaging 5.7 points per game. And if he plays 5 games, then that would equate to 28.5 points. So I thought, well, what if I modelled it so that some of these players would, some of the Liverpool, City and Chelsea players, well, they might have up to 10 games if you go right to the end of the month. What would it look like if I took their points per game and then obviously times it by the number of games? And then I thought, well, hang on a second, that's not necessarily that realistic. So I've adjusted the number of games based on, just a random gut feel as how many I feel they might play. And then I've done some tables. I've done an optimistic prediction where you've got the likes of Trent playing 9 games out of 10, for instance. And then I've done a more conservative one where I've gone for, he might be playing only 8 games. So I think we'll look at the conservative model because I think that's probably probably more, well, who knows? You've got to base it on something. So based on the fact that Harry Kane, we think is going to play 5 games this month, he might have 6, I believe, if they drop in another fixture. But we'll put that aside for now. And then I've picked some of the more popular potential replacements. I've actually included defenders, midfielders, and some strikers. And I've extrapolated their points based on how many games I think they'll play. And I don't know if, Tony, you'll be able to put this as a graphic on the YouTube, but I'll share it on Patreon, of course. But
I will do it.
So if you're only playing 3 at the back, for instance, Trent Alexander-Arnold's prediction, even if he only plays 8 out of 10 games, and he maintains that he actually gets 7 points per game. This is over the whole season. He'd be on 56 to Harry Kane's 28. So that's the most extreme example. Going down the list, you've got Cancelo with 46 points, Reece James potentially at 44, Mahrez at 34, and I've modelled Mahrez at only playing 6 out of 10 games. And then you've got very closely behind, you've got Kevin De Bruyne at 32 points. So if you look at it like that, there's potential for other players to score more than Harry Kane, but there's a good chance you've already got a lot of these players. But if you don't have the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold, for instance, and like I said, that's the most extreme example, I think you can get more points by taking out Harry Kane, but it depends on your team makeup. Basically. But I'll be sharing these projections and maybe tinkering with them a bit going forwards. It should be noted that I haven't taken into account current form or anything. This is based over the whole of the season. So someone like Kai Havertz appears actually below Kane, but as we've heard, a lot of the guys on the pod tonight have said, they think he's a good option going forwards because he didn't play so much the beginning half of the season. So points per game doesn't mean as much, if you like. So if you're willing to sort of look through those things and take it as it is, I mean, it's quite an interesting exercise, I think, to look at that.
Definitely. Make that, Fergie.
Yeah, excellent model, James. Really, really good stuff. I think the only thing to add in terms of what may aid decision making on kind of when to take out Kane as well. I've just had a quick look at the 5 weekends worth of football when Spurs are going to play, and this was massive for me at the end of last season, is having a look at the order in which the teams play, because obviously if Spurs play first, you don't get to see who plays for Man City. So you can't really do Kane to Mahrez because you don't know if Mahrez is is going to play, for example. Whereas so on the first week, straight to April the 2nd, Man City play before Spurs, so you can see the lineup for Man City. You can see, let's just say Mahrez. Even if Mahrez doesn't play on the weekend, he will likely play midweek. But if someone plays on the weekend, they've also got a chance of playing midweek as well, I think. So, you can probably say 120 odd minutes or something potentially, or maybe even more. That only happens on the first week and on the 4th week. On the 2nd, 3rd, and 5th, Spurs play first. So it's just something to bear in mind, I think, because you're not going to want to make a blind transfer and take out Kane for someone you don't even know who's going to start. So I think that's something I'd add. But I kind of hark back to my earlier point that that front 7 or 8 that Lee has mentioned there would probably be not far off my ideal front 7 there, right? So he's put alongside Salah, Jota, Mane, Havertz, KDB, Sterling, Mahrez, and Foden.
Yeah,
there's a lot of goals there, and it's probably worth saying as well that if we are tossing up between if you look at Jota, Mane, Havertz, probably Sterling in particular, I think they're all roughly 5 million or less as well. So it does free up another 2.5 million to plug into the rest of your team. So I think overall, if I'm defending, I'm probably leaving Kane for a week or two and get a bit more information. But if I wasn't, I think it's a good gamble to kind of go for. I think it's a good calculated gamble because you get the money out of it as well, which you can plug elsewhere. You can upgrade Bernardo Silva even to like Foden, for example, or you could upgrade, like I say, Rudiger to Reece James, or if you're stuck as I am with Kulusevski, you could upgrade Kulusevski to Havertz, or kind of whatever you do. So I think it's worth a gamble, and James' analysis backs that up, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we said before in the pod, if you're chasing, I think Lee is chasing this year because Lee's the current Dream Team Tonic mini league champion
He is.
from last season. And he has said that he's been struggling this year, so I can see why he's thinking about doing that with the fixture count, 6-3. So yeah, it's a good idea if you're chasing, like we've covered all the way through the pod, basically. So if you're chasing, take Kane out, get Mahrez in, or Kevin De Bruyne, something like that. You're gonna gain points.
You're saying
Definitely.
rank them, but best of luck with that because they're all about as good as each other, right? In terms of potential, it's so close.
They've all got the potential this month, haven't they? I think you could separate them a little bit. Maybe is that KDB would play a lot more games than the others, I would guess.
Yeah.
Maybe Havertz is probably second into it, more nailed. Then Jota, Mane, they're going to share the Firmino's back now, isn't he? Firmino just comes back from injury just to make it a little bit more difficult for people with their Liverpool forwards. And Mahrez, Foden, Sterling. I mean, well, over the years that just is what it is, isn't it? It's a lottery. 1 minute
they're so destructive, or they can be so destructive when they do play. This is the thing, we made a joke the other week. We made a joke. We were comparing Sterling and Mahrez, and then Sterling scored a hat-trick the one week, and Mahrez scored a brace the next. Even when they don't play, they're so powerful over a period of 3 or 4 games that it kind of matches the output of of any other player, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. They're explosive.
Because these teams make chances so often.
Yeah.
Even if they don't start the game and they're on the bench and they come on, they've still got a chance of scoring points. It's
scary.
Just leave them in there, don't you?
I found that when last year I went for the Man City, obviously the full block at one point, they had like eight players in, right? But Man City are a team, the same as Liverpool, to be fair, who score lots of goals. So if they're scoring 4 or 5-0 and you've got the vast majority of their forwards, you're very likely going to have the goal scorer and the assister for every goal. And if you can get yourself into that position, which obviously I managed to last year, every time Man City scored, I had the goal scorer and the assister. It's such an amazing place to be. And City and Liverpool are head and shoulders above everyone else for that, aren't they? So by having those four City mids, maybe Havertz, and 2 Liverpool forwards, you're covering off a lot of bases there, I think.
Yeah, definitely. If you had to rank one at number 1, I'd go for KDB, but has Lee not already got him in his side?
I bet he has.
I would guess so. Yeah.
I'd hope so. Really good take on that. Enjoyed that. So choose 3 questions, guys. Aman Tatler next. So Aman said he's got a slot for 1 City midfielder only. Which one? James?
Well, do you know what? I would normally say Mahrez without question. But having looked at the stats in preparation for this pod, I think it comes down to if you think, well, it's interesting. When I was doing sort of coming up with some of these models, if I put down KDB playing, I was going to say, if you think Mahrez is going to play like six games, and you think KDB is going to play 8, then KDB edges it. But if you think KDB will only play 7 and Mahrez 6, then Mahrez edges it. If you actually look at the points, if you take their points per game and extrapolate it with those number of games, it's actually really close. So Mahrez's points per game is 5.8, and KDB's is 4.7. But KDB probably play a few more games, so it's actually really close. If you push me, I'll probably go Mahrez because he's a little bit more explosive potentially, I think.
Interesting one. Fergie, sorry.
Yeah, well, I think De Bruyne is probably the best option, but again, it depends if you're chasing. Because if you're chasing, De Bruyne is 80% owned in the top 1K as an example, so it'd be hard for you to catch up there. But if you're defending, he's perfect. If you're chasing, I would be tempted by. I think I go for Foden. He seems to be a bit of a dart. I'm sure he saw. He started the last maybe 7 or 8 league games on the spin, so he's clearly in favour. He's only 30% owned in the top 1K. Obviously we don't know what kind of rank some of the managers are, but again, if you're defending De Bruyne, if you're attacking, go for maybe Foden or Sterling's an outside punt, but I'd probably go for Foden. He seems one nailed at the moment. I think that'll be my answer.
Yep.
Yeah, De Bruyne for me. If he's looking for his first Man City midfielder, it's got to be De Bruyne because he's the main man. He's plays most games now. 6.8 points in his last 5 games. In his last 3, he got 10.3 points. And like Fergie said, with the if you're looking for a differential Man City midfielder, I like Foden. But even Sterling's good. Like he's only owned by 28.6% of the top 1K. And that's. What do you think?
I think you've got space for one, and you're forcing me to choose one. I've got to choose KDB.
Yeah,
I can't look past. He is a bit safe. It is a very safe option to say KDB. That's why I thought that's what you would say, James. Yeah, like you don't like the differential of the punty players, but yeah, Mahrez, he's explosive, isn't he? And he's somebody who can get you a hell of a lot of points, whether he's playing every game or not. But yeah, KDB for me.
De Bruyne shot up in price now, isn't he? He's like only 0.2 behind Mahrez now.
Yeah, he's had some good performances all on the row. His price keeps rising now. Aaron Wade's been on with the very nice Champions League draw for Liverpool. Is it time to block up on Liverpool defenders? I already have Robbo and Trent. Thinking Alisson and Matip may need to come into my team now. I would lose Chalobah and Mendy in the process. Thoughts? I think we probably covered it, haven't we? A lot with the blocks. Obviously, if you're blocking up on Liverpool to defend, great. But if you're trying to make any ground up, losing Chalobah and Mendy, they're probably losing your differentials. Your differences that might help you make ground. But what do you reckon, James?
Well, if you pushed me, I would say I do slightly prefer Liverpool's fixtures to Chelsea, only because Chelsea have got Real Madrid. Chalobah is a bit more of a rotation risk, I think, than who was going to bring in Matip.
Yeah.
I think Matip will play more games than Chalobah. And I think Liverpool probably just about keep more clean sheets than Chelsea. So I don't think they're terrible moves. But like we said, it could just end up being a sideways move. It might be worth hanging fire and seeing how things pan out.
Yeah. Very good.
Yeah, I think with Chalobah, he's, I know he's out with the team, but I agree with James. Probably fair to say that Liverpool defender will probably get more minutes. I think Alisson to Mendy probably leave that for a couple of weeks and see how it pans out with the cups. Personally, but I'd probably make the one move and leave the other. Is what I'd do. I think.
Yeah. Ben.
Yeah, I'd just sit and wait to see who starts on the weekend. And if you really want to get rid of Chalobah, move to Matip, go for it. But Chalobah's all right. I think he got rested in the FA Cup, but he's been playing in the league.
Scored a
And
goal over the week as well, didn't he?
Did, yeah.
And he's cheap, so I don't mind him. I'd keep him in if he starts again.
Yeah, I'm still banging the Chelsea train drum.
Yeah,
I'm still going down that route and hoping that might help me gain a bit of ground, gain a bit of rank. So
I can see
opinion will be
Chelsea.
hold.
Sorry, I can see Chelsea holding a few clean sheets over these fixtures. They're just so defensive, they're so solid at the back,
aren't they? Yeah,
especially against the top sides.
agree.
They've got Real Madrid now in the Champions League. I could see them beating them. Knocked them out last year as well, didn't they?
I fancy Chelsea against Real Madrid. I mean, you say they got a double against Real Madrid, but then Liverpool have a double against City, and City have a double against Liverpool.
Yeah.
I think City and Liverpool have that's the trickier double. I think Chelsea, Real Madrid. Yeah, we've got the best league in the world, haven't we? I said about the draws. Who should the English teams really not fancy playing, apart from possibly Bayern? Other than Bayern, not much out there, is there? We'll see.
Have you seen who they get if they go through as well? So Liverpool avoid the other two English teams if they all qualify.
It's favourable. We were lucky to get that side of the draw, as they say.
Yeah.
Could be Liverpool's year again.
I hope so.
Quadruple.
Could well be.
I doubt that.
Right, that's it for the questions. We've got some talking points we've not touched on in the questions. And I've got highlighted here Wales.
Wales.
A shout out for Wales, have we?
Yeah, just a cracking result. I wanted to ask Fergie, what do you think about Wales playing at the Cardiff City Stadium? And obviously this is a big qualifier and it's like a final, isn't it? I was wondering, what's your thoughts on them playing at the old Millennium Stadium, Principality Stadium, for the final?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think that I've been to both. I supported Wales for a long time over the years. Back to I don't want to show my age too much. I won't go that far back, but definitely kind of Robert Earnshaw sort of days and things. Playing in the watching matches in the older stadium and the new stadium. I think at the moment that Wales have a massive home advantage playing at Cardiff because they've played all their games there. The last few years, I think they've, obviously the capacity is much smaller, but it is their home, their home ground now. They turn it into a real cauldron. I'm sure that the Millennium Stadium, or the Principality would be a good atmosphere, but
yeah,
they've got their own imprint now in that Cardiff Stadium. So even though it'd be great to have more fans for both the fans and for the team, I think they've probably just got a slightly better chance. If they can recreate that atmosphere that they just had against Austria, I think it gives them just more of an advantage. So I would just say, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And as long as they win, that's all that matters. And then we can all go off to Qatar. No, we can't. We can't afford it. But get to a World Cup. It would be absolutely incredible. First World Cup since 1958. Wow. If they get there.
It was in Sweden, wasn't it?
Oh, I don't know. Flipping it. You tested my trivia there. Jeez.
You got knocked out by Wales. Not got it. What? You got knocked out by Brazil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got fond memories of the Millennium Stadium as a Rovers fan.
Yeah.
Beating Spurs 2-1 there.
Yeah, in the Carling Cup final.
Yeah. Worthington Cup it was back then.
Yeah.
The Worthington Cup. Matt Jansen and Andy Cole on the score sheet that day.
2-1,
2001.
2001, yeah. I remember that. Spurs won it. Beat Leicester, actually. Was it Leicester?
No,
beat They won it in 97 or 98. Alan
No,
Nielsen.
99 you beat Leicester, but in 2001 you lost to Blackburn.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And then won it in 2008 against Chelsea.
Chelsea, yeah. Well, Woodgate scored,
Woodgate header
Woodgate,
injury time, I think it was,
Jesus.
wasn't it? Yeah.
didn't he? Yeah. I remember that Tottenham Leicester game because he scored in the last minute and you had 10 men. Nielsen scored.
Alan Nielsen, 88th minute. Yeah.
Yeah.
But just on Wales, Gareth Bale is just something else. That first goal, I mean, flipping heck, it was absolutely insane. You wouldn't see a better strike, around. He was just absolutely incredible, and he's taken a lot of stick. But for me, especially in the Euros, the last couple of Euros, he's given me and my kids and my friends like memories that we will never ever forget. Him and that Wales team, because we're very
Such a talented
fortunate to
player.
have lived in this era where Wales have actually been pretty decent. And I think in 2060 Wales were actually ranked above England for a few months as well. I think Wales were 9th and England were 10th or something ridiculous like that. And that without Bale would never have, we'd still be in the doldrums that we have been for years and years. But he and Ramsey and everyone else have really given us something. Give my my kids are spoiled because they think Wales are actually a decent team, because they've only known them, being qualifying for major tournaments, and getting to semi-finals and all this sort of thing. So I need to temper their expectations a little bit. But he's an absolute superstar and world class talent, no matter what anyone says.
Such a shame he's sat on the bench for so long in his career. It's
ridiculous, mate.
It's an absolute farce. Absolute farce. He is such a talented player. Yeah, but one of them can't go back in time, can you? I think if he did go back in time, do you reckon he'd go to Real Madrid?
Yeah, I think he's
would
still
for the money.
Well, if he
the
knew he was
money
going to win the
the
Champions
goal,
League,
it's all right, isn't it?
He's won a couple of Champions Leagues, haven't he? And however many,
don't
leagues.
get me
He
wrong,
was
he's got
there
some
for La
great
Decima
memories.
and all this stuff. It's
The
just
overhead
a shame.
kick and all that.
Yeah, it's just a shame it's ended up how it has. But he certainly had his moments there, I think. I was gutted when he left because I was convinced he wouldn't. But yeah, because that was the season for Spurs where he was just unreal. He was scoring 25-yarders every other game.
He was unplayable at times, wasn't he?
Yeah,
you couldn't stop him.
No, because he would just pick. Even in he scored a goal against West Ham. I think it was 3-2, where he was about 30 yards out with the last kick of the game, and he screamed at the midfield next to him, just like you can see him saying, like, "Give me the ball, give me the ball." Last minute of the game, picked up 30 yards out and popped in the top corner. And like, there's not many players have got that confidence or ability, and he had both, just to be like that. Give me the ball, banged it in, 3 points, unbelievable.
Top man. Right, let's just have a quick run through the Dream Team Tonic Cash League. We've got obviously 2 months to go now. Let's get into the business end, and I think this is probably the first time ever all 4 of us have been sat in the top 10.
Sir.
So I think it's quite a feat that for all of us to be there.
It's tight though, isn't it? I mean, there's 7 points between 6th and 10th, and then between 5th and 10th, there's 11 points. I mean, it doesn't get much tighter than that.
This is more exciting than the Premier League. so let's just have a quick run through. In 10th, Ben.
Get in.
You're there, mate. In 9th, we've got Kerry Jones. In 8th, James Fricker.
Come on.
In 7th is me, Tony. In 6th, Fergi. In 5th, Michael White. In 4th, Dan Sherwood. In 3rd, Heath Robson. In 2nd, Steve Legg. And top of the shop with a 20-point lead is Alex Cole. Obviously, still a long way to go, but it's been a lot to and fro. Hopefully, we can all finish in the cash places and get those prizes sent out. Obviously, anyone still think they can win that trophy?
Looking grim now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you think it's between the top 3 or 4 there?
100 points for me.
Yeah. It's a big ask. Get on that Chelsea train, Ben.
Yeah,
It's interesting because you even look at that, and Kerry in 9th scored 35 points. Alex in 1st scored 43, but then James scored 66. So even in that one pretty mediocre game week, James made 23 points on the leader. So it just proves that, we talk about 50, 60, 70 points. You've made 23 points there in a heartbeat. With probably not being aggressive. You can organically make a lot of points, can't you? If you just play, play sensibly. You don't have to attack all the time, do you?
Yeah.
Definitely. Right, on to another league, the Differential League. The update's in. This is how it's looking for this week. After last month at March, the community got 15 points with James, which I think he got in the first game of the month, which we're probably lucky that injury happened. Otherwise, they would have been, I think, quite a way clear, even further clear than what they are. So the community sat on 196 points. Fergi, you had John Stones. Great little pick that. 16 points. Only a short one. So 153 points you there in second. I had Diaz at Liverpool. He only got me 8 points. That leaves me on 137 points. Ben, you had Ziyech. Could have been a whole lot more for Ziyech. He threatened again. 7 points for you.
Rotation.
Yeah, and then playing wing back as well, which isn't helping his cause. But he's some of them balls into the box are unreal.
Yeah.
I always think like Alan Shearer, he'd have loved them, or Harry Kane. He'd love to cross to himself, wouldn't he, Harry Kane? 124 points for you, Ben. And James, you had Foden, got you 14 points. Decent little return, really.
Not bad,
Brings you into triple figures now, so you're up there on 107 points. The community's choice for April has been voted on tonight on Twitter, and they've gone for Havertz.
Nice pick.
So we'll get our picks out before Friday, and we'll see if we can try and chase down the community. There's 43 points there, Fergie. Need to try and catch them up, mate.
I've had last pick for the last 6 months.
Yeah. But then there's no excuse for Van der Beek in February.
Hang on a minute, Tony. If we're going to play that game,
No,
I'm pretty sure I can look back.
Oh,
I'm
God.
sure I was what was your pick? Lacazette -1. Put that in
no.
your pipe and smoke it.
Go back even further. There's a Zaha further down in this.
Yeah,
I don't know how pissed I was on that one.
Was a bit of a bit of a punt to say the least.
Yeah, it might have paid off, but Everton have been fucking awful. They've been absolutely awful, haven't they? Yeah.
He was just trying to give us a chance, I think.
Yeah, make it more interesting. Right, the Patreon Cup, obviously still rolling on. We've had 2 game weeks so far. We're into the third game week. Will be this one, the third match of the group stage. It's a game week 30. We had a run through the group stage tables in the last pod. Are you all happy with your start, James? You happy with your start, mate?
Well, I got pipped in my first group game, and then I won my second one against Steve Cheek quite comfortably. So done all right so far. I'm hoping to go through and qualify.
Yeah, Fergie.
Yeah, I feel a bit hard done by, to be honest, because I had 128 goals for, and I've won one and lost one. and then Alex Newton with a team called Suck My Cock has only scored 48 points, and he's won both his games. But no, yeah, happy, hoping to progress. All that.
Ben?
Yeah, I'm happy with my start. Top of the league at the moment. Playing Dean this weekend. Leicester derby.
Oh, top versus bottom that as well. Dean needs to
Yeah.
pull some out of the bag there. He needs to get some points on the board.
He's in the top 5 with me in the Leicester Fan League as
Is
well.
he?
Yeah.
Happy days. Bit of a Leicester derby then. I've got Dan Cox this week. So.
Ooh, 2 heavyweights.
Oh no, sorry. I beat Dan Cox this week. God.
Oh.
sorry, Dan. Yeah, I've got, I think it's a top of the table clash for me with Steve Broughton. So both sat on 6 points. We always keep an eye out for Lee Hooper. And we thought this was going to be his time. He was drawn in the group of death with the current number 1 in his group. Last year's winner Fergi in his group. And he is currently below by. That can't last though. He can't be beaten by. That is not possible. It is impossible because Bai will not get any points, Lee. So don't worry, you won't finish bottom of the group, mate. But who have you got this week? Just a quick. Where are you? You got Patrick Bryson this week. So a win this week, Lee, and you could see yourself through as a third place qualifier, hopefully. But all fun. Be interesting to see once everyone's qualified and we get through to the knockout stages and the banter gets ramped up. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's not been without its mishaps tonight. Ben's had a power cut and all sorts.
I love the definition of a power cut as well.
he didn't plug his charger in. But yeah, it's been a good laugh. As ever, Fergie, honestly, thanks very much, mate, for coming on for these transfer specials once a month. It's been an absolute pleasure this season. And we've probably got 2 more with you? One more?
Probably one more looking ahead to May, is it?
Yeah, one more. Yeah. And hopefully we have you on at the end of the season and at some point just to tidy everything up and have a look and a bit of a cool down. But we'll sort that out. Cheers, Ben. Cheers, James.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers,
Pleasure as ever. And thanks to everyone for your support. Keep on listening. Cheers.